Carl.
Michael Kitces, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, but
Yes.
I have to admit now, because I mentioned it for the past few episodes, like I am really missing the blue couch. Like
We just had a retreat at the house and they make me bring it from upstairs down for the part of the retreat. So I'm gonna have to just bring it down one more flight to the studio
okay.
I'll do it.
So
I'll do it.
it's like it feels the call. It's slowly getting closer to your studio. You
Yeah,
just need
that's
to
right.
complete its journey.
Just one more. I don't know if it'll fit through the window. It'll fit through the door. I will make it happen. But
Okay.
yeah, know that it's a well alive and well people at the retreat fight for it's 12 people and only two can sit on it, so they fight each session. So it's still getting use.
Excellent. All right. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it's doing well because
Yeah.
I do miss it. I do miss it.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
So I wanted to talk today about the question that I'm just hearing popping up a lot of places these days. We all are
I
hearing
can't
the
wait.
look, we're all like AI conversations are everywhere. And some folks are kind of believers it's going to displace everything. Some folks are naysayers and say it's overblown. Usually the truth is somewhere in between the two. A lot of folks out there, including me, have basically said, like, I don't really think this fundamentally displaces what we do as financial advisors. Like, I think our career continues to be what it is, with some incremental changes as technology always brings. But I think I just wanted to kind of bring or maybe explore further just that fundamental question. Like, it is there a future of financial planning in the AI era? Because I know you have been like very much immersed into this space and using yourself. So like I guess sorry, like either is there a really a future of financial planning in the AI era, or maybe can we put a little bit more color and description to what does that look like? Like what
Mhm.
really stays the same and what are the things that are going to change
Mhm. That's a
as this
super
AI
fun question.
stuff gets more and more adopted more and more places?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild how fast we seem to be hearing about it and all sorts. I read some crazy stat about some, the outrageous claims in
Yep.
any like new thing, the
Yep.
outrageous claims become so normal that you almost don't pay attention to them and don't even know what to think
Well,
anymore.
Well, I mean, look, what was it? It's almost 2.5 years ago now that Chat GPT went mainstream. And I mean, I remember then there were conversations of like, there's going
Yeah.
to be mass unemployment within 2 years because the AI
Yeah.
is increasing at exponential rates. I'm like, okay, it's been another year or two, like I don't see any mass unemployment. Maybe ironically, the engineers have inflicted this on themselves because there actually does seem to be a higher volume of layoffs in the software industry in
Yeah. Yeah.
particular. So it turns out it's coding well than a lot of entry level coders. But on the one hand, like it's so disruptive and it's growing exponentially, so it's just a matter of time before there's mass displacement. And we're a few years in now, and there has really not been mass displacement. And apparently, it's still getting smarter and learning better. And we are putting a bajillion dollars of
Hmm.
investments into AI data centers and bigger data sets to keep training it more. So there's just like this inevitable, air quotes, like inevitable. Well, if it's not there yet, just give it a few more years. So,
Yeah.
okay, then I'm going to say, like, so fast forward us 10 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's the mid 2030s, and a
Mm.
couple more of these compounding functions that are supposed to happen have happened.
Mm.
Do I still have a job as a financial planner? And if so, what do I actually do?
Mm. Such a great question. I want to be clear, like I have no idea, but it's going to be really fun to talk about it because I have lots of thinking about it. Here, I have a question for you. Just for fun, like hypothetically, let's what what would what would self-driving money look like? Like pretend like like you're relatively high income. There's probably one thing on your list that you'd like to get rid of the most, like subscriptions and writing checks and moving money and opening accounts and
Yeah.
that's the one thing that annoys me. And I'm not, I don't, it doesn't matter what my income is, but one thing that I can afford to pay for that to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people can hire landscape people and some people can hire, but like let's pretend like you're in a world where anybody who has two iPhones and a car in the family. I don't know. I don't know where we draw the line. Basically, all of our clients are above the line, basically, right?
Okay.
And what would it look like when what? Just imagine for a minute before we get to the question, like, what does self-driving money look like? Like, what if I could pay to have all this go away? Meaning, like day-to-day touching of it, and what does that even
Oh, I mean,
mean?
I feel like we're getting to a lot of that now. I mean, like, anybody remember when they got paychecks, you had to take it to the bank and actually deposit it? Like that
Yes,
was a
yes,
thing
yeah.
for a
Fax
long
something in.
long time. Uh, and if you wanted to move money or roll a CD from one bank to another, like you had to go get a check,
Pick it up, carry it to the other place.
literally physically. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, I just feel like we've done so much of that. So yes,
yeah,
it can get better, right? Like I've still got to log into my bank and move some money from the checking account to the savings account because the
yeah.
bastards make me do that and deliberately insert friction because they know that means the money will sit in the checking account longer and then they can make a better spread off of
Yeah.
it in good old banking world. So right, so there is an aspect of some of the reason why the money isn't so self-driving is because the financial institutions intentionally put sand in the gears because
Yeah.
they make money off the sand. Like that's why I can't
Yeah.
auto move my money from my checking to savings as easily at most banks. I mean, heck, that's why custodians make us do freaking trades into better yielding things and don't put us in an automatic sweep that yields better because they know if it takes us a few days to do it, they make a little extra
Mm-hmm.
money times, a trillion or $2 that adds up.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so look, there is a part to me that's like, I don't know how perfectly self-driving it'll get because the financial system actually has significant financial incentives to make it not totally
Yeah.
smooth. But
Yeah.
I mean, that aside, like the technology's getting there. At some point, the bank will make it difficult, and an agentic AI thing will figure out how to read the website and navigate the things and play the game anyways, because that's programmable.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
but so
but
like
but I just quickly come to like, okay, great. We've had systems like pay yourself first and set your savings up automatically already. Some people
mm,
do, some people don't.
mhm,
And for most of the people that don't, it's not literally like they're incapable of creating a system and making their money
mhm,
more self-driving to do it. It's I have certain goals or certain preferences or certain desires to spend or other things that prevent me from following through to do that. And I mean, even in a
mm,
self-driving money world, like, okay, it's got to drive according to my goals and
mhm,
desires
mhm,
and values.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
good luck figuring out what those are as a software program because most of us don't know what that is for ourselves. That's why
No,
financial
I
planning
think
is a thing and therapy is a thing. Like, many of us are on a journey
yeah, no, I
in
think that's
figuring this out.
I think that's the important part as relates to your question. I just wanted to use the self-driving thing as an analogy because I don't think it's I don't think it's far-fetched at all to have something that is optimizing, the best thinking, the best calculations, the best models all the time for my entire financial life. Like my investments, my how much I save, how much I spend, what I'm thinking about will be left for my kids, my die with zero plan, the funding of my goals. Like I could see all the mechanics of that, a system that's optimizing every day, every hour, every minute as self-driving. But what's really important in that whole thing, right, is like where do you want to go? Like what,
Right.
and by the way, we often refer to this as like, that sketch, and we all draw this. Like you're start at A, you're going to go to B. What happens when A is not A? Like
Right.
what happens when I think of my starting place is like, and then what happens when B1 turns into B2? Like, and you never
Yeah.
really know I've been referring to it as B ultimate. You never really know what B ultimate is until probably the day before you die, like you're always course correcting. And so
Right.
all I'm saying, I
I'm
think
always having new experiences. I'm always learning new things. Stuff
changing
happens
my
in my
value,
life
even
that
my very
changes my
values.
values, my priorities, what I'm
Yeah.
focused on.
Yeah, and I think there's a piece of AI like I've been using um yeah, like here's the thing. So I think this gets us closer to like is there a job, right? And I just want to keep talking about this, its ability to optimize. I um ride like I spend a lot of time moving through the mountains, and I like to do it in a way where I'm sort of training towards a goal. And it like hiking or running or riding your bike with your friends is different than training towards a goal. And it turns out there's lots of research and lots of models, especially in worlds like running or cycling, and especially in cycling because there's a lot of data. And so this is a kind of a long story. I'll make it shorter. I spent the last 2 years really doing a specific kind of training to build a base. And those people who are listening would know, like zone two training, right?
Okay.
And I show up at a race for the first time in 2 years and have this like a kind of like shocking experience in terms of how my ability, even though I hadn't done any of this really hard effort stuff. And I set new record, like a max heart rate I hadn't seen in 15 years, a 60-minute max heart rate I hadn't seen in 15 years. So I get home and I'm like, I cannot make sense. I have all my data for 15 years of training. I have all my data in this app. And I text the guy who's done coaching for me in years past. Really good guy. We haven't talked in months. I text him, "Hey, I had this experience. Can you jump on a call?" And he didn't reply to me on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock in 3 minutes. So I got impatient. And I downloaded all of my data into a CSV file
Okay.
and uploaded it to chat
Okay.
and started having conversations and said, I want you to pretend like you're a site. Chat gave me now it was based on events, how I was feeling. It was based on not allowing Grumpy Carl to come back, which is a subjective thing. They're like that's one of my training rules is if Grumpy Carl shows up, then the whole program gets pulled. Um, we don't need to talk about that. And I like, but it's feelings. There were feelings in there too, and it came back with this most amazing explanation of what happened. It gave me all this training stuff. And when my coach called me 3 days later, I told him I didn't need to talk anymore. And and so my point here is I could see a world in which all the technical stuff that's really, really important could be optimized all the time, like by the second, based on a model. Lots of models, the same models we all use, the same models that are being used now. But those models are only good, right? They're only good within the context of the human's
Yep.
the person's life. Back to so is there a job? I think there's even like it's I think the job we've all been thinking is going to happen around values, goals, connection, conversation. I just want to talk to someone, right? Is going to be more. I think in a world where data, models, calculations are ubiquitous and at your fingertips, it the other side of that barbell, the human, becomes even more valuable. So I sort of feel like we've got to get this right where we're like, we still have to be the best engineers, prompt engineers, financial planners, and we gotta continue to learn how to be deeply human.
Like, I guess that's part of the question. Like, do we need to be engineers? in
Good
the
point. That's I
future,
overstated that. Yeah,
prompt
that's
or
right.
analytical or otherwise, right? I mean, that's one of the ways that some people
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
play this
Yeah,
out,
good.
right? Like
It's a
the
good point.
technology will be an amazing analytical engine, and
Yeah. Yeah.
our jobs morph increasingly towards communicator, counselor, therapist, right? In these directions where it's mostly money and value conversations. Oh, and then we'll put it into the magic black box and it'll tell us how that turns out.
Let's investigate that just a little bit because I want to make sure I get the use of the word engineer right because you're exactly right to sort of push on that a little bit. What I guess what I mean is I the and I this word's so perfect for it, but the prompt we're giving the tool and largely like the input, the the interface between the human who says, "Yeah, I know paying off my mortgage, I could make more because my mortgage is at 3%, but it feels good." Like that's a terrible example, but just almost cliche, right? The interface between that and the tool, I'm calling that engineer, right? Like I'm just saying the planner, just like you needed to know how to use your, what did you use? Your reverse Polish 12 BC? Like we don't even know what they're called anymore. What are they called?
HP12C.
12C. Okay, yeah, like just like you had to know how to use the 12C on behalf of a client's problem or challenge or desire. I think now we need to know how to use these increasingly complex and automated tools. But I don't think the value, I think here's the risk to me. The risk is you don't understand your value. That your value isn't a cliche, isn't efficient portfolio design anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were around, like you and I were around
Yeah.
when risk tolerance questionnaires were value add. And by that, I mean like pick a portfolio, right? Like we
Yeah.
were around for the revolution of going from individual security selection, like stock picking, stockbroker,
Mm-hmm.
to portfolio
Well,
design.
I mean, to me, that's look, when I look at these conversations, I mean, that's part of what always crops up for me that I started 25 years ago at the peak of the internet boom. And my friend said, like, why would you become a financial advisor?
Right. Right.
Anybody can invest online, right? It's so easy a baby can do it because that was
Yeah,
the
right.
E-Trade commercial. Like, why would you take a white collar job that is now so easy for consumers to do themselves that a baby can do it in their crib dictating stocks? I mean, like that really was
Right.
the contextual area. It's like,
Right.
oh, and if that wasn't enough, within the first 10 years, 99.9% of all things that have been known to the entire species of mankind will be available on a device in your hand in less than 8 seconds
Right.
because smartphones are coming.
Right. Right.
And we're still here. And so
Yeah.
to me, like one of the most interesting thing when I look at these, like what happens
Mm-hmm.
when we get exponential technology growth, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, we've had exponential technology growth for quite a few decades now. So, we used to do this with our HP 12Cs, and then the personal computer came. And then, like, we did it with our computers because we had special software in our office that no one else had. And then the internet came and anybody could do it. And then, like, at least we learned specialized knowledge, things that you weren't going to get very quickly. And then the
Mm-hmm.
smartphone came and all knowledge became available in people's hands. And so, I'm like, so why didn't all the other iterations of technology displace us or even really materially change our days? And when I look at it from that perspective, because
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I've been in it long enough, like, look, my meeting, like, if I go back 20 something years ago, my meetings weren't that different. Like, look, it takes a certain amount of time to have a constructive conversation with another human being and get them up to speed and read them into the situation and engage them in the conversation and try to get to an outcome. So meetings were like 45 minutes to an hour, and they're still mostly 45 minutes to an hour. I made them longer for a while because I liked, punitively long financial planning meetings. I eventually got over that. Like, great. So we used to have hour-long meetings. We have hour-long meetings. Now, my hour-long meeting used to be a standard printout from like a Morningstar Principia Pro report of a bunch of mutual funds.
Right.
Now I've got like a real time, internally rate of return, like appropriately weighted return calculation of your exact portfolio with all the positions, with all the transactions, with all the detail, with mountain charts to show it over time relative to a
Hmm.
benchmark that I wish you wouldn't judge me against. Like, I can do so much more now.
Hmm.
Right, 25 years ago, I actually had to pull up my HP 12C to do like a quick calculation on whether you were saving enough for college. Probably wouldn't do retirement, but like we might do college. Now I've got financial planning software that does all that, and I can put it up on the screen, and we can interactively grab the sliders and move them around. So the technology already got exponentially better than it was. And they all are basically conversation aids for having a discussion with clients that has not actually changed all that materially, because technology moved massively in 25 years and the human species has not evolved in any material way in 25 years. It takes us a little
Hmm.
longer than uh,
Hmm.
one generation, maybe, to evolve as human beings. So most of us still spend whatever it is, 8
Hey,
to 12
Michael.
hours a week in meetings, another 8 to 12 hours prepping and doing the follow up from all of the meetings. Then there's the phone calls and the messages that come in from clients between the meetings, so you have to answer in a timely manner. And then we got
Quick,
to get around to like the compliance and a few other things,
yeah.
just part of the overhead of the business. And then my week is done and I go home.
Quick thought. Don't lose your train of thought, but quick before I forget. But remember, like all of our stockbroker buddies are gone.
True. We
So
had to
so I
evolve. We
don't
did have to
yeah,
like up our
I
game.
don't yeah, I don't think the financial planners that are listening and financial advisors that listen to this show
Hmm.
have a lot to be worried about. I think actually they have a lot to be empowered by. I think there's a whole piece of the industry. I would put it at 50, 60, maybe 70%. Not our
Yeah.
not the people that are
We have
listening to us.
Right. I mean,
Financial
bear in mind the
services.
aggregate. 300, if you use Cerulli numbers, so I think we're good, like 300,000 financial advisors, 100,000 CFPs. So just
Yeah,
a
and I don't
straight
know
point.
even
2/3 of all advisors, air quotes, don't have CFP marks. And yes, it's not a perfect proxy. Some non
right.
CFPs do good financial planning, some CFPs do not good financial planning,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
decent approximation. So, yeah, like 2/3 of advisors don't have any substantive training beyond their series exams, which
I
I would argue
think
is definitely not the bar it will take to be successful 10 years from now.
that's what I really think is that if if the fees, if the if the income you're making, the revenue if the fees you're charging clients depends on some idea that you have some special calculator.
Right.
And the really great financial planners that you and I spend our time with already know this. They don't feel like they have some special. They feel like they're technical rock stars. Like they know how to use the
You
whatever
do
calculator.
need to give the client like the technically accurate answer,
That's
or
but it
you're like
feels to me
really
like
good
that's
at delivering really inaccurate bad
yeah,
advice.
that feels to me like the crew, I like if I Venn diagram these people would be like technical rock stars that know how to deal with humans. And so what I run into all the time is, and I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're in the 300,000 or if they're in different industries that call themselves financial services, if they're not even in the advisor number. I don't know who these people are. I mean, I could tell you examples at conferences, but they don't even know how to use the calculator as a metaphor, let alone. So they're just, I think if that's the part, like my stockbroker buddies, when I started, they all said, yeah, I know, Carl, we need to change, but I only got 3 years left. I'm going to be fine. Again, they're all gone.
Well, well,
So
the
yeah, that's what I think is that, yeah, go ahead.
I would say the other thing that actually strikes me in that context. I mean, it'd be fair if I do go back, because I was saying before earlier, like takes about an hour to get a client through a conversation, then you move on. I mean, if I really reflect on it fairly, I think we actually have fewer meetings now than we did 20 years ago.
I
Unfortunately,
think you're right.
we haven't been doing our research long enough for me to actually pull good data from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm just remembering back, right? Because look, the
It seems like
business was
a
more
quarterly meeting almost, like a quarter. You almost had like I remember
Well,
12 4 1 or whatever the Merrill Lynch thing was.
and just the meetings were more transactional. The
Yeah.
activity pace was higher. I mean, you had to have a high activity pace because revenue was not recurring. Like if you don't see a certain volume of new and existing people to find new transaction opportunities, your income went to zero because it was so mostly commission based then. So I mean the irony to me when I look at it, and still for some folks I know today, like the high volume folks might do 15 to 20 plus meetings a week, and the ones that are more successful have fewer meetings because they tend to go
Yeah.
deeper with their clients and have much deeper relationships with their clients, and are dealing generally with more affluent and complex clients that have more stuff going on and more needs that
Yeah.
go along with it. And so
Yeah.
ironically, like, for technology that was supposed to scale us up, right? If I went back 25 years ago and I said, like, well, you got like 20 meetings a week right now, but you're going to have computers and the internet and smartphones and robo and business process automation, all this amazing stuff. So, like, your meeting count's going to go down by 50%. And everyone would say, like, well, actually, I was assuming it's going to go the other way. Like, isn't the technology supposed to get me
Yeah.
to the point where I just
Per
do
client.
meeting, 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 meeting?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think meetings per client went down and total meeting counts went down because total client
Yeah.
counts went down. Because I used to have 250 transactional clients that I did business with once in the past 3 years. And now
Right.
I've got 100 clients plus or minus something
They do
with
the whole
my
thing
that
for.
my that my 3-person team serves in a deep ongoing relationship. So
You know
the
what I think
technology
happened?
actually made us more focused into deeper relationships already.
Yeah, I think that's all that that's like insanely hopeful for the people that you and I hang out with. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think what happened in those clients, so let me just see if I can tie this thread together.
Yeah.
Those clients that we're referring to that went from where we were 20 years ago to where we are now, I think those clients, they probably would not use this word. I think those clients have gotten to the spot where their money is largely self-driving
Yeah.
because the advisor's driving, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I
Well, yeah,
think what
they're
they
they're
say is,
not
I don't,
they're not driving.
yeah,
Or
what I
not so
think
much.
is the money's not driving. What I think they're saying is, and I've heard these words lots, I don't even think about it anymore.
Yep.
Christy takes care of it. It's not even a thing I like. I like that's the kind of referrals that really good planners get. They didn't tell me exactly what you do. They just said that they don't think about it anymore. And so I
Well,
think,
I think that's a good note as well in this context that look, consumers have and always continue to exist on some spectrum from do-it-yourselfers to delegators that don't want to deal with that stuff and just would rather have someone else do it for them. And I don't just like to me like that's just human nature. We live on that spectrum and it doesn't go away. So I mean there's a part of me that every time I hear someone say like, well, like, why will anyone use a financial advisor in the future? Like I can just do all this on the internet already, never mind with all the tech that's coming. I'm like, yeah, because you're a do-it-yourselfer and you like doing that. Like that's not historically who hires financial advisors in the first place. Like we tend to work
yeah,
with delegators. Now, maybe there's a constraint factor there that says, the future of our industry might only be continuing to work with delegators who don't want to DIY it, who don't want to take the time to learn it, who don't want to
mm,
take the time to figure out which tech platform is the good self-driving money platform, which is the
yeah,
bad self-money driving platform, right? I mean, the
yeah. I agree
robo
with all that.
advisors ultimately mostly failed because marketing was prohibitively expensive. Or viewed another way, it was really tough to convince someone to do the research on 7 robo advisors to pick the good one. Like, if I'm going
Mm,
to do that much research, I may as well manage it myself. And if I don't want to do that much research, I'm just going to find an advisor. So, like, why do I need a robo?
yeah,
And I think that's where they got stuck as well, because even picking the vendor, even picking the technology platform is still actually something that do-it-yourselfers tend to do. Delegators talk to their friends and family and find someone who's good and then just say, please deal with this for me.
yeah. I think that's all exactly right. And I want a giant and here.
Yeah.
This does feel fascinatingly different and nothing to be scared of. Like my that experience with my endurance coaching was
So what
it was
was
just
there like just
amazing. Yeah.
extend that further. So like, so what, no, what changes in my day to day and week to week
As a client or as an
as
advisor?
an advisor
I mean, look, that's a
and
whole nother
10
episode for us to
10
talk
years
about,
from
but I would literally be, I would today, and I love the model, and I can't remember who I read it somewhere. Like, get a second screen, and I literally have two. Like, there's one over there. I have another screen over there, and on that screen exists my AI tools, and I'm trying to slowly shift from this screen to that one more and more and more. And so I would just
So what's left
anything.
on this screen?
That's a really good question. Conversations are left on the screen for sure. Like this conversation is left on the screen. Connection, deep coaching that I do with a bunch of advisors is left on the screen. But if I go to write, if I go to write an email, if there's an email, so I would just be thinking about it this way. Anything that you have to do twice, just be thinking about. Like I'm not saying you can, I'm saying engage in the thought experiment. Would this be better if I built a model around it? You know, like email is a great example. You any email that takes you more, you know, the emails that you literally like look at and you're like, oh geez, I don't know how to reply to that. It's gonna take it. It probably takes you 2 days to
Mhm.
like it pops up and you ignore it and you avoid it, and then when you finally sit down, it's 90 minutes. Like that's any of those. You can shortcut you can get to the editing part so much faster.
Right.
You know, so any creative writing, like you can get solve the blank screen problem. The other day I was doing a little retreat where we took 4 people down to the desert in southern Utah. And normally it's like 2 days of anguish to figure out what I'm going to cook. Like, well, how am I going to cook over the fire? And what do people, so normally I just end up making burritos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I went into chat and I
For the
said,
record, I'm actually quite okay with burritos for
yeah,
breakfast,
yeah.
lunch,
So,
dinner.
but I was like, okay,
It sounds like a plus to me.
there are 4 men coming. They weigh this much. We have this many meals. Give me, and I want it to be awesome. And we're only cooking over the fire. Here's the constraints. It planned an entire menu plan. It gave me a full shopping list. I uploaded the shopping list to Whole Foods. I pulled up, they hand me the bags. That feels very interesting. So I'm just sort of like anything in my day-to-day work, how you spend your time. Like I would be super interested in uploading. I have a buddy who uploaded 300 his 300-page journal and asked chat to pretend like, and he gave it a bunch of prompt
Yeah.
instructions and said, tell me about my blind spot. So like I'd be super curious, like, how do I spend my time? You know, if you could get good recordings of client meetings, and this is happening more and more with Jump and other tools, like I would be using those like gold. Like, hey, do you see anything I missed here? Was there any question I didn't ask? What could I have done better? Did I
Mm.
pause long enough? Like I would really be using some AI tool for instruction and coaching on that. And by the way, that's not like calculate the net present value. That was
Right, right, right.
these are more qualitative
So,
uses. So that those are
and
some
these are
ideas.
all meeting, communication. I don't even know
Mm.
quite what the right words are. Coaching, counseling.
Connective. Yeah, I think their engagement, their client, I mean, you could almost go so far, I'm not sure, to say like client facing. And all of these tools, by the way, are just making you better,
Mhm. So
more valuable.
is there any room left for technical expertise, or does this fall by the wayside because the AI gets too good?
I I I I I don't know the answer to that, but I have always felt like in our profession that that there's something about the confidence of knowing what's going on inside the calculations. Like there's something about
Yeah.
you knowing that even if you never do it, there's something about you, the confidence of being like versus like secret black box.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that changes. Like I just remember the investment advisory side, even though I knew it wasn't my value anymore, I felt like I could look people in the eyes and say, I can go toe to toe with anybody on why and how we built this portfolio. Like,
Mm.
and and I don't know. like a lot of the advisors you and I don't spend time with, when I run into them and I ask them questions like, hey, why do you build portfolios like you do? They're like, oh, our research team. That's not the answer I want. I kind of want
Yeah.
you want to spend three
Yes.
days with me in front of the whiteboard? I'll show you. That's the answer I
Yep.
want. That's the answer I want. Even though it's not your value, I want to know the table stakes. They're table stakes value. It's required. That's my feeling. I don't know that I'm right, but that's my feeling on it. How about you? What do you think? What happens to
I
technical expertise in that world?
I think it's I mean, I think I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, yes, there's always an element of if you don't have a certain amount of technical knowledge and expertise, the once in a blue moon, however often it is, that the output from the software is not good, right? If only
Mm,
someone
mm,
input something wrong, you accidentally gave it the wrong prompt, it picked up something in the conversation that was not accurate. Like if you don't have enough knowledge, you can't see the wrong
mm.
output when
Yeah,
it comes out wrong, and lots of harm and bad things can come from that. At best, you have a bad conversation with the client when they realize that the numbers aren't adding up, and at worst, just like you get patently inaccurate advice
yeah,
because it was
yeah.
wrong.
That
So
too.
there's always a layer there. I think beyond that, look, there's always a like simplest rung on the ladder
Mm,
questions that
mm,
increasingly get automated by technology. I mean, yes, every now and then there's still a client where like they actually reach out and ask what the Roth deadline is and you have to explain it. But increasingly now, if they want to know what that is, right, they just punch it in their smartphone or they ask Siri or Alexa or ChatGPT or whatever it is. Like there's a layer of simple questions that increasingly vanish. And as the bar gets higher, the simple question threshold gets higher. And so to me, just that continues to push the bar up for advisors. Say, look, I mean, literally, AI is really only good in areas that have been very well covered in the past. Right? Like it's
mm,
not good at novel new ideas and innovation because it's literally kind of a pattern recognition machine of all the things that have happened in the past. So there's always a cutting edge of knowledge, there's always a cutting edge of expertise. There's always people that are in newer novel situations where the answers have not all been figured out, written, documented 47,000 times on the internet for AI to train on, where there's opportunity. I do think to me like that does though it raises the bar, right? Like it used to be a series exam, now increasingly it's CFP. In the future, it might be a higher level than that. Of just like the
mm,
the table stakes it takes to be smarter than the AI about the particular domain that you're in. I think there's an extension of that, which I
mm,
had always heard in various versions from Philip Palaviv of it's easier to be a big fish in a small pond. It's I'm not going to be smarter than the AI at everything, but I might be the smarter than the AI at one particular client problem.
mm,
Which means to me this
mm,
increasingly like the bar gets higher. It's increasingly a world of specialization. Can't be smarter than the AI at everything, but I can maybe be smarter than the AI at like pilots for a particular airline who've been through 37 mergers over the past 40 years of their career.
mm.
So I think we get more specialized. I think like you have to stay ahead of the technology. And the technology just becomes an increasingly powerful tool to have better conversations with clients.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't. As we sort of wrap up here, I don't. I kept hearing you use the word smarter, and I was like, it's so interesting to me. I don't. I think that's the right word. I also think,
I don't know if it's the right word.
well, the AI tool allows me to, I know what scenario I want to run. Now go run it 5,000 times. I know kind of like, I want this nice meal. Now give me seven things and give me this. Like it just makes what I'm already thinking faster.
Yeah.
It's not even the right word, like more efficient. I don't even know that I want to be faster. I'm not thinking like I want to be
But
superhuman. I'm just saying, right? Like it's so much easier now than it was. And but
well,
you need to know where you're driving to. You need to know
yeah,
why you're doing it.
mean, look, so we've had software for 30 years to get increasingly effective at optimizing the calculation of how do I get from here to there, here to retirement, here to my vacation home, here to my whatever the goal is. The problem is people are not terribly clear actually about their goals. They're not really clear about their values. They are not great at always taking behavioral steps that align what they say their goals and values are to where their money's actually going and what they're doing. And just to me, there's human stuff there. Like, just, it's not, yes, when you really finally get to the right goals and values and you need to help them formulate a plan, you need a technically accurate analysis to do the thing,
Mm.
but and come up with a recommendation. But most of the time, we don't have clear enough inputs to do an analytics output.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's why the people listening to this show are safe. And I think not safe. It's like not only safe, but excited and
Yeah.
shifting increasingly to this deeply human
Yeah.
opportunity while retaining my technical expertise. Like it's just such a beautiful job. So anyway, that's where I think it goes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Carl.
Cheers, Michael.